Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash, Season 5. So throughout Season 4 we met some new characters, but the biggest and stretchiest character that we met throughout Season 4 was of course our new friend and member of Team Flash, that of course being Ralph Dibny, aka the Elongated Man. When we first met Ralph Dibny in Season 4, we saw Ralph as like an almost broken person who was just going through like day to day with nothing much really going on with him due to something Barry had done to him in the past. Of course, Ralph was in the wrong back then in that situation during that event, but it was Barry that exposed that and pushed Ralph down the road that he ended up on when we, caught up with him in Season 4. But as we moved deeper and deeper into Season 4, we saw Ralph grow and stretch into a completely different person and was definitely given the best story out of any character in the show this season. Sure, there were some episodes where it felt that they took like a step back with his character, but when it comes down to it, I feel that was due to different writers coming in and out of the show, which, just happens with a show that's going 23 episodes a season, which just led to a few inconsistencies, but we still ended up with a more consistent character than we are used to on The Flash. But obviously Ralph was a bus metahuman and was not absorbed like the majority of the bus metas we saw this season, but was actually taken over by DeVoe, which in turn placed all of the powers from the other previous bus metas that DeVoe had taken or, absorbed or taken over were placed within Ralph's body, making DeVoe one OP or overpowered specimen. But as we saw in the second half of the finale, we saw Barry able to retrieve Ralph from within DeVoe's mindscape, and whilst avoiding the Agent Smith-like DeVoe clones, he was able to get DeVoe out of that, Ralph might I say, out of the mindscape, and in turn give Ralph, control back of his body and kick DeVoe out, ultimately defeating DeVoe. But this event and moment had led many people to question and wonder, hang on, if DeVoe is now out of Ralph's body, does this mean that Ralph now has all of the other bus meta's abilities and is, well, overpowered? And yes, this is a warranted question as the show really didn't address this at all. It arguably did a very terrible job at it. Now, we know there were a few cut scenes or deleted scenes from this season's finale. So one where maybe they refer to Ralph and if he still has those powers might have been brought up but just deleted, but we will never know unless they release those deleted scenes on the Blu-ray when that eventually comes out. And yes, I know they do show deleted scenes on the Blu-ray, but they don't show all of them. They just show like a select few. So maybe if there is one, it might end up on that Blu-ray, or the DVD if you don't have Blu-ray yet for some reason. But back to that question, does Ralph have all of the bus meta powers now that DeVoe has left his body? Now, when it comes down to it, there are two options that they could go with in regards to Ralph and the existence or non-existence of these bus meta powers. The first being that yes, he does have those powers, and that is due to DeVoe's body being in control of all the powers. So whenever DeVoe used that device to swap over to another body, the powers and his mind were stored in that particular body, but separately. They weren't the same entity. Which would mean that once DeVoe was forced, out of Ralph's body by Ralph himself, those powers remained behind. And of course the other option is, no, Ralph does not have the powers of the other bus metas, and this would be the case if the powers of those bus metas were connected to DeVoe's mind and not the body that he was in. So when DeVoe transferred his mind, they were a part of it, and when his mind left Ralph's body, so did those powers. And obviously you would definitely have to think that they go with that second option of no, the powers have left Ralph's body, and I don't think it takes a genius to explain why that is the right and smart way to go. As we heard Marley say, DeVoe had organized these powers in a way in which, individually some of the metas are dangerous, but they are still like fairly easy to take down, but when combined and used together, whoever is using them is overpowered as hell. In combination, they can take down anyone, even Supergirl. So do you really think they would give that type of power to Ralph? No, of course they wouldn't. The only powers that Ralph has are his actual powers, so, stretchy man. I am hoping they explain this, though, early next season, or at least refer to it. Maybe they could even have a scene against a tough meta where, Ralph or someone says that it would have been, handy if Ralph had, kept those bus meta powers or something like that. Like, even a joke reference similar to that would be better than no reference at all. In regards to what they're going to do with Ralph in Season 5, of course we know he is going to be a part of next season, which is great, as he was easily the most consistent in regards to not only the development of his character throughout the season, but also just what and who the character is. But we know that Caitlin Snow is getting her own storyline around Killer Frost and the origins of all that, so she would most likely not be involved too heavily with the weekly troubles that Barry would be taking care of. So you would have to think that Ralph will be helping Barry out with that. And as due to Nora Allen being on the show, Iris, you would have to think, won't be in Star Labs that much, which might mean that Cisco is orchestrating everything back at Star Labs. It's hard to tell at this moment because we don't necessarily know what Nora's role is going to be in Season 5 and whether it's going to be really heavily focused on, which would require characters being involved in her story, such as Iris and then Barry. Or whether it's just going to be in the background of every episode of the season for the most part. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. I'm guessing we'll learn more at Comic-Con. But in regards to Ralph individually, some people have been asking, will he go back to being a private investigator? I don't think so, because the producers said, and I believe them when they say this. This is probably one of the few things that I actually believe them with, because we actually saw it happen on the show. But they said that, Ralph dying and then coming back to life was always a part of their plan, which I think is true, because I was going to say Barry Allen, but Grant Gustin, who plays Barry Allen, did hint at that at Comic-Con, saying he knows something that, big that happens that plays throughout the whole season. I think he was talking about Ralph, which was, I think, before episode 1 even aired. But you know how we saw, the episode that Ralph died, we saw Barry clean up Ralph's office. I think that's basically him cleaning up Ralph as a private investigator. So I don't think we're going to see Ralph back as a PI. We could. I just don't know how they would be able to incorporate that in with the rest of the story of this show. Like, they can't even focus on Iris being a reporter for the most part. Well, they struggle with it at least for a lot of the seasons. Will it happen in season 5? We'll have to wait and see. But do you think if they can't do that, or even Barry as a CSI, they couldn't even focus on that? So do you think they'd be able to focus on Ralph as a private investigator? Very unlikely. So I think they'll scrap that whole thing, and Ralph will most likely just be a hero and helping Team Flash. Obviously, there's a chance he could go back to working at the CCPD. Maybe, apparently, there was another deleted scene between him, Singh, Cisco, and Barry. So maybe that was Ralph getting his job back. But I think if that was important to next season, they would have shown that in the episode. So I don't know. We'll have to wait to see about all of that. But one thing I know a lot of people who are fans of the Elongated Man in the comics, or Ralph in the comics, is Sue Dibney. A lot of people want to see, or Sue, because why would her name be Sue Dibney if they're not married yet? A lot of people want to see Sue introduced into the into the show, might I say. And so do I. If you don't read the comics, I get the Ralph and Sue relationship is probably one of the stronger relationships in DC Comics. It's almost like your Green Arrows and your Black Canaries, your Barry Allen and your Iris Wests, and stuff like that. Your Batmans and your Catwomans, if you want to put that in the same thing as well. And then you have your Ralph and your Sues. They're a bit more niche, but they're in the same sort of category at the same time. So I know a lot of people want to see Sue come in. I know people that don't like the relationship drama wouldn't want it coming in. And I'm in that boat, sort of, because I don't like it when these shows get absorbed into that whole soap opera stuff, which they need to sort of fix up with these CW shows. Arrow's done a fairly good job of trying to fix itself up in regards to that, but Flash has sort of fallen into a bit of a hole with that, which I don't think it's that deep of a hole to get out of. I don't think it's that hard to get out of. But if they want to do Sue, if they want to bring in Sue, maybe I should use that wording, it's a bit better, then go for it, but make it watchable for everyone. Don't make it like, oh, so for the people that really like relationship stuff on the show, don't appeal to them. Try and make it appeal to everyone, and just do it on the side. Honestly, you could probably base it around Cisco and Gypsy. Cisco and Gypsy's relationship was the one that worked on the show the best. So if you try and take that model from Cisco and Gypsy's relationship and make it sort of work with Ralph and Sue, I think you have a winner there. And I think it's something that people wouldn't really get too bothered with. And also, Sue is an important character to Ralph, because I think it's going to make him grow more as a character, because he's going to have someone that he loves and cares about more than, what he's got at the moment, which, is Team Flash, it's his family, but I think Ralph needs Sue in his life on the show. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on what I went over in this video. Do you think Ralph's going to keep the powers, or do you think he's just going to be normal Ralph and those powers left his body when DeVoe's mind left his body as well? Just leave all of your opinions down there in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys, and goodbye.